rival site that covers Carolina. Alan was out in Vegas covering the women's basketball team's win over Michigan. And Shane had a little fun with Alan about that yesterday, so we'll probably get into that, plus what's going on around the program. Speaking of program, J.D. Bickel of On3 Sports did his show today, and he's got shirts that he wears every day that say program, which I just think are great.
Totally not ripped off from anything.
No. It's just a lot of coaches in these parts that say our program. Muschamp was good about that.
Very Southern.
Yep. Lig and program. That's all right. It's good. I like it. But JD did pick the Gamecocks. Good or bad, Elijah? Because last week, JD picked the Aggies to win by double digit.
See, that's a small sample size. I need to know what his record is on the whole. If he's got a good record.
He probably has that up somewhere.
Somebody has to, right? I mean, surely. We keep records.
Yeah, we keep receipts.
If you will.
That's right. He picked South Carolina today, 27-23. I sent in my Jack Veltri picks. I don't think Jack likes us to say them, though, until they come out. So I will reserve my final score.
I think I know what you picked.
Do you?
I think so.
You should write it down. Write down what you think I picked. And then I'll have to go back and make sure of what I picked, because I think I remember what I picked.
And double check. I will even predict your prediction.
There you go. Yes, you're going to pull a Phil Steele.
Yes.
I love what Phil Steele, and people get all mad at Phil. And Phil's like, I'm not giving you my top 25. I'm telling you what I believe the AP top 25 is going to look like. And people are like, Phil Steele says. Yeah, and it's like, he told you what he said. Somebody got mad at Seth Emerson the other day for his SEC Vibes rankings, which are all about how good you feel, because because the nature of the sport of football, we only have the one game a week, and all of us are guilty of overreacting. I mean, that's why so many segments, like Rich Eisen, and he doesn't even call, there's a whole segment of his show on Mondays. It's not even Reaction Monday. It's Overreaction Monday, because NFL especially, every week it feels like the winner of a game, hey, listen, I'm telling you, they can win the Super Bowl. And the loser every week, hey,
it's over.
They're going to have top 5 pick. I mean, they're done. They're done. Forget it. And we're a lot like that in college football. But we'll get into all of those things for you throughout the course. I'm not going to sit here and say I was disappointed South Carolina did make it. That's not my job. I did think South Carolina was going to make it, because I thought that enough eye test material was out there for this committee. And I think, like a lot of people at the national level especially, I mean, I've read what Stuart Mandel has had to say. I watched Andy Staples and Ari Wasserman this morning, saw JD's reaction to what he had to say. Did not get a chance to catch Josh Pate yet. Bill and I did our TV show today, and I hadn't had time to watch everything and do all the stuff I need to do to get ready for the show. So I haven't seen what Josh Pate had to say. But there are some things, I just was joking with Terry and Tyler, like Missouri. And you and I, Elijah, when we were doing our show meeting this morning, what's Missouri's best win? And I'm not trying to sit here and rag on Missouri. I'm not. Well, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. And look, all this is going to mean is we sit here and talk about it like, South Carolina, whatever happens this weekend, and you need to win this week. Look, Carolina doesn't have must-win games, but South Carolina definitely in the next 3 weeks at least has you better win games, in my opinion. I mean, if you want to take this program forward, and you do, whoever you are, that's a supporter, right, from Shane and the staff to the players to the fans, you need to win these next 3 games, because now you are expected to win these next 3 games. There was a time a month ago when South Carolina and the FPI didn't like one another. And the FPI was predicting a South Carolina loss to Alabama, which did happen. A South Carolina loss in Oklahoma, which did not happen.
Emphatically.
A South Carolina loss to Texas A&M, which did not happen.
Emphatically.
It was predicting a South Carolina loss at Vanderbilt even. Don't know yet. It was predicting a South Carolina loss to Missouri. Don't know yet. It was always predicting a win over Wofford, and it is still predicting a loss at Clemson, which is understandable. So in these next 3, you're expected to win. You need to go win. And it's really time to beat Missouri. But we'll talk about them more next week. But what's Missouri's best win? I just feel like maybe South Carolina, and I don't know, where the committee right now is valuing eye test over just your straight up record. And then all the other metrics, strength of record, which, again, Elijah sometimes still has to explain to me. It's like wins above replacement or something, right? Pretty
much, yeah. It's an attempt to say how many more wins you would have over the average team if the average team played your schedule.
Yeah. So, but there's that one. There's strength of schedule. And like I say, I come back around to just, the good old-fashioned eye test. And there's a lot of people saying, about the AP poll even this week. Forget about the CFP poll, which does mean more, but how is South Carolina not ranked? But so-and-so is. And, look, just keep winning and it'll take care of itself. But Louisville is in with 3 losses. But South Carolina and Vanderbilt, as 3-loss teams, and Vanderbilt is ranked in the poll this week, is not there. And that's, again, it's fine. I don't get overly worked up. The workup, if you will, stems from just trying to figure out exactly what that committee is attempting to value most, or even, for lack of a better way to say it, no pun intended here, how they rank their criteria.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Because that's what's going to matter in the end.
Yeah.
Right? When it comes to fielding this thing.
Like what means most to you, committee? Because a lot of things matter. I get it. But what means most? And that might be hard to quantify. Don't know.
There's naturally just a lot that goes into this.
There is. So, but again, not getting too worked up about it. Top 3, I think, are perfectly fair. I'd have probably had Georgia at 2, but that's probably a level of Southeastern Conference subjectivity. And Georgia is getting ready to play. They've already played 2 really hard games, and they split them. They got 2 hard games coming up, and they need to win them. They'll be expected to win both. They got Ole Miss this weekend in Oxford. You got UT and Athens next week. Yeah, you'll be expected to win both of those if you're Georgia. This weekend's going to be tough, based on how Ole Miss played. But I think they got those top teams about right. Penn State, again, what's Penn State's best win?
Yeah. I mean, the West Virginia win hasn't aged as gracefully.
Not really.
I thought it would be. Penn State being ahead of Tennessee, I find to be.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if I like that one. Again, why is Penn State ahead of Indiana? I mean, Indiana, again, eye test. So, okay, Indiana's strength of schedule in terms of opponents, not world beaters, but Indiana's kicking the crap out of people. Indiana has
every game by at least 2 scores.
At least. Indiana has 2 games they won by 14 points. Every other win, and they're undefeated, every other win is by more than that. And some of them are whoopings.
Penn State doesn't have a single win against a team that's in the current top 25.
Yeah. And so, but they played Ohio State. Okay. And they, supposedly played them close. I don't know. I mean, look, Penn State went up, 10-0?
Yeah, went up 10-0.
Yeah.
Did not score an offensive touchdown in that game.
Yeah. Yeah, you get a pick 6 early. I thought Ohio State, I know it sounds weird when you're down 10-0 on the road. I thought Ohio State was basically always in control of what was going to happen in that football game. If that I know that sounds odd.
Once they finally broke through and scored,
But I think Ryan said, guys, seriously, look at the clock. It's all good.
A lot of time.
All good. Just
we're Ohio State. Yeah. They're Penn State.
It happens. We're good. You don't need to worry about it. And they didn't. They didn't panic. So, anyway, we'll touch on those things for you throughout the day. NFL trade line has come and gone. Panthers, they were getting...
A trade line, I like that. You just combine trade and deadline.
Did I say trade deadline? I didn't say deadline. I'm sorry. The NFL
At least I heard it
trade deadline.
Why use more words?
Has come and gone. That's right. Efficiency.
Worked just fine.
Has come and gone. Panthers made a couple more deals, but they seem to be getting rid of former... at least hopeful good talent, if that's the right way to put it. I know that was probably grammatically incorrect, but
Former hopeful good talent.
That's not the best way to more good
there
players.
Might have to be, it might be an easier way to say it. I need to think, though.
I'm just trying to process all that in my head at one time, but they got rid of some former first-round picks. And they did it for like a song. So I just don't quite know.
I mean, they still made like bandits trading
if you're a Panther fan,
that's a win.
I'm just trying to figure out what kind of hope you really have in what's happening up there. And I do not like saying that. I promise you. I do not like saying that. But I see nothing happening that gives me any hope that team's going to be good anytime soon. And I look around that division, and I know you just beat New Orleans, but it's not a very good division. It's okay at best. Atlanta
and Tampa are good.
They're good.
They're not great teams.
They're good.
They're good football teams.
I was impressed with Tampa the other night. I thought considering they've got some injuries too, I thought they played well. Yes, it was raining. And Kansas City this year, look, I think Andy is building them into a slow burn kind of a team right now that by the middle of December will really be clicking on all cylinders. There are nights when they don't look great. And people are like, what's wrong with the Chiefs? And then you look at their record and you say, nothing.
Nothing yet.
Yeah.
They've won a lot of one-score games. They cannot live with that formula forever.
I don't think you can either. And Andy's not dumb.
Yeah.
They've won a lot of Super Bowls with him now. He's been to 4. They've won 3. They've got the best player in football. They've got a terrific defense. And if you have to win ugly, okay. If they keep winning by 1 score every week, Elijah Campbell, you know what they'll be?
They'll be undefeated.
They'll be undefeated.
Still.
Sign me up. Sign me up. All right, we got some Gamecock stuff to get to on the other side. Alan will join us coming up at the bottom of the hour with his thoughts on what's going on around football and basketball. Does he see what happened Monday night at CLA as very damaging, mildly damaging, not damaging? We'll get into those things and a lot of football for you. 803-404-6100. It's the Wednesday postgame show. Holidays nearly upon us. Homeowners looking to spruce up the house before the holidays, maybe a new kitchen or at least remodel a few things. Maybe you need a bigger guest bathroom when the in-laws are coming into town, whatever it might be. Just looking to consolidate some high-interest debt before the holiday season. Well, get in touch with Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union and take advantage of some terrific opportunities with their home equity line of credit. You can unlock your home's equity over a 10-year draw period, so you get qualified for this. You find out how much equity you've got to work with, and then a bathroom job here and a kitchen job there, maybe a playroom for the kids. Hey, maybe a great trip. Maybe that's something that, hey, look, hey, kid, guess where we're going to go somewhere big time. Yay. All right, all that and more. 14 very convenient locations to go sit with one of their professionals, talk about these things, or you can apply online right now at palmettocitizens.org. My wife and I are members. We love them. Check them out, Palmetto Citizens. 3:18 on this Wednesday afternoon. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay and Elijah with you. Going to jump into some sound from Vanderbilt head coach Clark Lee scouting the Gamecocks. Do that for you in just a second. Again, we'll have more sound from Gamecock coordinators coming up, and our buddy Alan Cole on the beat for Gamecock Scoop, the rival site, will be with us coming up inside of 15 minutes. Real quick here, just saw this go by. This is not done yet. But big rumor now, this is sort of expected, baseball-wise I'm talking here. Max Fried and the Dodgers are apparently very close on a deal. I'm assuming at the number here, Elijah, you tell me if you agree or not. This is either a 5 or 6. I didn't see the term. I just saw the amount. It's a $156 million deal. I'm going to go with that being a 6-year deal. So 25, 26, 26 million, somewhere in that ballpark, no pun intended, over a period. I mean, because I don't think he's going to be making 30+ million.
I mean,
he could.
He could.
He
for
could.
A left-hander who has a pretty solid ERA.
He could.
Or has had the career he's had. I mean, I could see it.
As far as it's either 5 or 6 at that number.
Well, a team like the Dodgers can overpay at $30 million,
and he was making 15, so doubling his pay seems like a lot. But again, he is. You don't want to say a rarity, but he is certainly a prized commodity.
Yes, tall left-handed pitchers.
Yeah. And
who are very effective, yeah. Who can be the top of your rotation.
Yeah, and he
postseason experience.
Yeah, this season he, of course, had some injuries, but he can be an innings eater for you. He's good at that.
Not a lot of those anymore.
No. Braves could be in the I guess, top 2 or 3 teams. Looking at Nathan Eovaldi, so we'll find out. He made $20 million last year.
He's solid. I think that's the best way I can describe Eovaldi.
Yeah. Not quite as much of a prized commodity because he's right-handed.
Shouldn't be the ace of your rotation, but he would be a really good number.
And I just listen. Sale had a great year. He's going to win the Cy Young. I hate to be cynical here. I don't think he's going to have that kind of season again. I hope I'm wrong.
Mostly because you had a pretty good sample size of him not doing that for 4 years now.
Yeah, and I know some of it was
after his last great year.
And I'll fully admit. Not the biggest Chris Sale fan. That stunt he pulled with the White Sox a few years back. I was like, dude, you're
petulant.
Yes, you're not a 6-year-old. You're a grown man who makes a lot of money.
You're a big boy.
Yeah, he didn't think so. I don't like my Sunday school outfit. I'm going to cut it up with scissors. My mommy's mean. And if you don't know that story, do yourself a favor, go look it up.
Yeah, Google Chris Sale cuts up jerseys.
Yeah, it's and you're like, wait, a grown man who makes an 8-figure salary did this? Yes, he did. It's a true story.
Didn't like them wearing throwback jerseys.
It's a true story. That's all I'm gonna tell you. Let's get into a little bit. Cut number 22 here, please, sir. Clark Lee doing a fine job as Vanderbilt's head coach. Really got him turned in the right direction. But now he knows that he is going up against one of the best defensive line units in the country.
Well, you gotta find creative ways to make for space, because if you are inefficient on early downs, and this is a little bit what got us against Auburn, but when we get behind the chains, if you get this group to 3rd and 7+, you're going to have to deal with that edge pressure, and they're really good at being disruptive at the launch point. So finding space on early downs will be kind of a priority for us. To do that, obviously, you've got to, again, handle the edges and find the matchups you like in the run game to get some semblance of forward movement. And we need to be able to connect on some of the shots that I felt like we were close on against Auburn. We're looking for 1 or 2 more first downs within that game just to really control possession, and then another touchdown to create separation. And I think it's going to be a very similar game this weekend, and that's if we can protect the ball. If we don't protect the ball, then we expose ourselves to a team that is really good at capitalizing on turnovers and short fields, and that was on display for them against Texas A&M, which is a really good team that they beat at home, and their ability to create short fields for their offense and then create explosive plays offensively, was a formula that allowed them to create distance in that game. So obviously offensively, like I said, first and second down efficiency sets up third down and manageable. That's kind of our rhythm for maintaining possession. We maintain possession. We get a chance to get the ball up and over the top, and now we're playing to our formula. If we're off schedule early, it's going to become a defensive grinder like Saturday was, and we're going to rely on defense and special teams to hold the line until we're able to find those breakthroughs.
It's going to be interesting how South Carolina handles, let's just be obvious because this is the guy, Diego Pavia. He is their, obviously, leader in passing, but he's also their leading rusher, Elijah, and he is their leading rusher by more than 120 yards so far this season. He also has 31 more carries than Cedric Alexander, their top tailback. Alexander's been solid. Neither of them are rushing for 4 yards a carry, but you got Pavia at 3.9, and remember that's sack adjusted. Cedric Alexander rushes for 3.8. They have 9 touchdowns combined on the ground through the air. Pavia is completing 62% of his passes, and again he's got a 5-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. So he's doing a very nice job. He's lost 93 yards, by the way, in sacks 11 times. That's it. He's only been sacked 11 times.
That's not a lot.
It's not through 9 games, man.
Which they're not dropping back a lot.
Right. They don't throw. They had 200 attempts. He's had 205 attempts. And he's been sacked 11 times. So that's 5%. That's not bad.
They move and that's the thing too. That's part of what the offense is. They move the pocket.
So you know what? And you and I we talked about this last week, and I think it bears a repeat in terms of how you try to handle this quarterback. You had seen Jalen Milroe, and you did a good job for the most part. He got you early, you settled in, and then you forced him to do some things that he was uncomfortable with. You did the same thing with Marcel Reed last week. Early, they just wanted to feel things out. Then A&M, got going. They took a lead, and then you figured it out. And remember, they had a couple of nice drives going in the second half. Mm-hmm. They did. And you had the big turnover with OD down there low. Again, just fall down from this point forward, Gamecocks. Do not return any more interceptions. Just wherever you get the ball, just drop.
Or just don't get your hopes up.
Right.
Waltz into that end zone.
That's 3.
With zero enthusiasm.
That's 3.
It might get called back.
Anyway, he was out of bounds. That's unfortunate by a sliver, but he was out of bounds. But we kid. But here's another quite literal dual threat quarterback. But this kid, whatever words you want to use, confidence, moxie, blah, blah, blah. This kid's fun to watch. He's good, and he doesn't believe you're going to beat him. That's what I like. He doesn't believe you're going to beat him.
Yeah, he expects to win every game. And that is so much confidence from a guy who started his career at a junior college, New Mexico State, and now to Vanderbilt. The guy's never been a favorite to win anything.
Right.
But you cannot convince him otherwise.
And I think it's great. So it's going to be interesting. Last week, as Clark mentioned, they were not good last week, really, against Auburn. Auburn's just really bad, and Vanderbilt did what Vanderbilt needed to do. I don't know how interested Auburn was in the game, to be perfectly honest with you. 17-7. Come on.
Hugh Freeze is an offensive mastermind.
Yeah, that just tells me that they're a little checked out. I look again. Yeah. I'm not taking from Vandy. If anything, I've been one of their biggest cheerleaders. I'm trying to tell everybody. I know there's going to be some around here. I keep saying it. It's just Vandy. It's not right now. It's not just Vandy.
And I will say, and that was our poll question of the day, actually, on Twitter, is, a question we never thought that we would ask. Does this Vanderbilt football team make you worry about the game Saturday? And at least, to the credit, 86.4% say yes, they're a good team. Still 13.6% said nope, it's Vandy.
Yeah. I put me in A for sure, man. I'll go vote. I'll add to it, guy. I'll add
chime in there. Say
I'll add to the results. I'll do that during the break. But I like what this Vandy team does. If South Carolina, listen, South Carolina's won its last 2 games. at Oklahoma and home with number 10 Texas A&M by a combined 50 points. Go keep doing that, and you're good.
That's pretty cool. And no, be crazy. That's a lot of points to win in two big games. Well, Missouri's lost their 2 games against ranked teams by 75.
Yeah,
75 to 10, so 65 points. Just to bring that one up real quick.
Yeah, again, I'd love to have heard the committee's reasoning on Missouri and the eye test, but they don't let us do that. So maybe one day. Come back on the other side of the break. Our buddy Alan Cole is going to join us. We'll get his take on what's going on with the Gamecock coordinators' press conferences today, and we'll get into some basketball thoughts. He was at the women's game, but what does he think of what happened to the men's team? All that and more with Alan when the postgame show returns. Football season is fully upon us, y'all, and it will be for the next couple of months. So if you haven't yet gotten that home theater upgrade, now is a great time to call Integrated Media before all the big games come around towards the new year and after the turn of the calendar. Just one call, Integrated Media will get into your house and install the latest in 4K technology from Samsung, including those beautiful frame TVs that look like art when they're not tuned in to the big game. You couple that with the Dolby Atmos surround system, and it is like you are there. You want to do it outside, on the deck, the patio, around the pool? Integrated Media installs outdoor systems with the Samsung Terrace TV and enhanced with Sonos outdoor speaker systems. This equipment can live outside 24/7, 365, even here in the South Carolina weather. And trust me, it looks and sounds like anything inside does. Whatever you want in home theater, Integrated Media makes it happen. 803-948-8327. Feel like you're there with Integrated Media. Talking some Carolina football, get into some hoops as well. Our buddy Alan Cole joins us on the guest line, back from Vegas, where hopefully he didn't lose a lot of money. I don't know if he had time to lose any money. It sounded like he was kind of in and out. We'll discuss all of that and more. Alan, of course, on the beat for Gamecock Scoop, the rival site that covers Carolina. How you doing? Good to have you.
I'm good. There's always enough time to lose money in Vegas.
Sure. They got slot machines everywhere, man. If they've nothing else. Slot machines and Keno. I still don't know what the hell Keno is, but I swear, everywhere you turn in Vegas, you can play Keno. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, I remember we were at the buffet at the Mirage, and they got this whole thing for Keno. Like, in the buffet, I'm like, do I want to gamble while I eat? But I guess some people do. Anyway. Alan, before we talk football, real quick here, we do know there was a couple hours ago some breaking news with Ashlyn Watkins. What more can you tell us about that story?
Yep. So on, I guess it would have been yesterday, she officially had the charges against her dropped. I guess that came out yesterday afternoon. And then today she was officially reinstated to team activities. That's the second part of that, right, was first you had to clear the legal process part of it, and then second would be clearing the university suspension that was automatically triggered by the legal process. So she was back at practice today for the first time since they started team practice, because this happened in late August and they started team practice in mid-September.
Anything further that may be coming from Dawn Staley, or is this whole thing over?
I don't want to say the whole thing's over until Dawn Staley says it herself. I'm kind of getting the sense that it's trending that way just because she was at practice today, and I don't know what the ramp up is from a basketball perspective towards playing in a pretty big game on Sunday, but from the legal side, yes, and then we'll see what the internal is. I think Dawn's supposed to speak next on Friday.
Yeah, Carolina's got NC State up in Charlotte on Sunday afternoon. Final four teams last season, and
top 10 teams now.
Top 10. Yeah, State's number 9. So a good weekend to match up right up the road in the Queen City. I know a lot of you will be heading up that way. Alan, yesterday during Shane Beamer's press conference, I know you were there, Elijah was there. We'll talk more about you and Shane in just a little bit, I promise. But in all seriousness, he made mention, and I know he wasn't like taking shots at the assembled media in Columbia, but said when the media poll came out, you guys had Vanderbilt ranked and not us. How much do you believe Shane is using that as motivation this week?
Yeah, I think it's part of it for sure. I think he always is trying to find the one thing a week. I remember he was talking about this after Kentucky, where the narrative that week was Kentucky's D-line was so good, and he spent that whole week challenging, South Carolina's D-line. There's a pretty good one too. The narrative all last week was about how physical A&M was, myself included. I wrote about that. I think we could all agree South Carolina was the more physical team Saturday and wore them down. So, yeah, I think this week the narrative probably is Vanderbilt's the surprise package in the SEC. Vanderbilt's this, Vanderbilt's bowl eligible, all of that. And it's going to be a tough game, but South Carolina has a chance to kind of take the mantle of a lot of the things people are saying about Vanderbilt with a head-to-head win this weekend.
And you mentioned the physicality that they showed on Saturday against Texas A&M, and I think that was kind of a challenge everybody that has covered this team or watches this team had for South Carolina's offensive line, was to be able to have a run-blocking game good enough to be able to, run for 243 against the SEC's best run defense. But how much of that do you think carries over and is sustainable throughout the rest of the year? And I think the bye week probably helped with that a little bit. It sounds like they had a productive week of practices. But this is one of those things that if they can at least run block really well and master that and be able to establish a good ground game in the last, 4 games of the season, then I think they have a chance to be able to do something that surpassed everyone's expectations here in this market.
Yeah, I kind of look at it two ways, where I look at it, one, as you're probably not going to have, just being reality here, that's probably not going to be a better performance than last week on the offensive line the rest of the year. You're talking about a game with almost 300 rushing yards, no pre-snap penalties, no holding penalties, no sacks allowed. That just doesn't happen in the SEC. So, no, I think maybe setting the bar there might be unrealistic. But I do agree with you, and I agree with what everybody said, that this offensive line has gotten better all year. I think I wrote about it a little bit today, but you're seeing the benefits of starting the same 5 guys every week, something they couldn't do till November last year because of injuries. You're seeing the benefits of a true freshman at left tackle getting to play every week, and getting better with reps. Same thing with your right tackle, who's not a true freshman, but he kind of is in terms of experience. He hasn't played much because of his own injuries. And I think you're just seeing that combination of playing well together and also individual growth of these guys that are just getting better as players themselves. And you put 5 of those together, and I think run blocking combined with a running back like Rocket Sanders, who, had his best game in a Carolina uniform Saturday, I think you're seeing the identity of this team that they wanted it to be all off season, which is that offensive line run the ball, and it's, coming at the right time of year.
Alan, speaking of guys getting better, our good friend Ryan Brewer, former Gamecock, was on the program with us yesterday, and we were talking somewhat, asking rhetorically. It was, one of the big plays that Lenoris made, a point where the game started to slow down. The sport, we kind of said, even started to slow down for him in terms of his decision making and what he's able to do as the leader of this offense. What are you hearing about that aspect of his game around the team right now? I mean, he played well enough at Alabama. Obviously, 2 big mistakes were costly. There's no getting around that. Managed the offense very well for what they needed to do in Oklahoma, and had a really big game the other night. It's trending in the right direction. What are you hearing about where he is from sort of a between the ears standpoint? Because let's face it, the physical stuff we can see rather easily.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too. I think it's command of this offense as much as anything else. I thought Dowell Loggins had an incredibly telling answer today in media, talking about how, I don't know if you guys remember, the first play of the game Saturday was a deep shot. Like they, dropped Lenoris Sellers back and basically told him to throw the ball as far as he could to Nick Harbor. It was incomplete, but Dowell Loggins saying you don't do that unless your quarterback understands the offense and you trust him to make a good decision on the first play of the game. You just don't call that as your first scripted play unless you really trust your quarterback and where he is in his development and his decision making. And I would absolutely agree with that. I think you're starting to see it slow down. I mean, he said that himself. I think you're just seeing him start to understand his own abilities, but more than that, what you can't do at this level, the way the windows close a little bit tighter, the way defenders go for the ball a little bit more. Ball security has been a thing all year. I think it's some of it is the slowing down, but it's also just him getting a better sense of, okay, this is what college football is. Here's what I could get away with in high school. Here's what I can't get away with here. And then here's how I incorporate that into my own strengths and my own game and what makes me a special football player.
And one thing that Jay and I have talked about a lot this year when dissecting the offense and trying to figure out how can you be good enough to be able to win these games and not waste the defensive efforts that you've had at many points this season. And that kind of starts with finding an easy button. And Josh Simon seemed like that was a pretty ideal easy button on offense because you pressed it 4 times and got 132 yards or whatever and a couple touchdowns. Just when you watch him on this offense, how reliable would you say he is maybe compared to any other option you have when you just really need to pick up something on a 3rd down?
I think it's not only that you did that 4 times, but all 4 of those were like basically the same kind of play, right? Like it's Simon starting on one side of the formation, usually that right side off Casey Henry, kind of leaking across to the left, sometimes the line of scrimmage, sometimes further down like that first touchdown. But it's a very simple, safe, bread and butter throw that Sellers can make. And I give a lot of credit to Dowell Loggins for how he's kind of disguising that. I thought the first touchdown Simon had was perfectly executed, where you had Simon in line between Michael Smith and Casey Henry, and the A&M defense kind of lost him there as he leaked out from the line. And yeah, you're not, like I said, not only is it Simon, it's Simon doing pretty much the same thing. And we talked about simplifying the offense during the bye week and just getting down to a few concepts that you can really trust and understand and rely on. And I think that's one of them for sure, that it's simple and you can trust it if you're Lenoris Sellers.
Alan, we had a caller Monday, I believe it was, ask Elijah and me, at what point does Nick Harbor's inability to develop further become a liability for this team? And our response back was basically, I don't know that Shane Dowell and Mike Furry allow it to go that far. But is there concern, or is this, hey, he didn't have a spring and he's still we still trust him. He's doing some better things without the ball. Where is he right now in this mix?
I think you just said it right there, doing better things without the ball. I thought for as much credit as the offensive line got, and rightfully so, they were great Saturday, the perimeter blocking was really good too, and that wasn't just tight end. I thought Nick Harbor blocked really well. Mazio Bennett, before he got hurt, obviously, in the second quarter, was blocking really well. And I think that's a lot of, if you do the right things, they're going to reward you with playing time. I think the same thing can be true. I said it about Steelers in that first play of the game, but you also have to trust Nick Harbor to send him down there on the first play of the game like that. I know didn't come down with it there, and I think maybe that's where people are getting a little antsy or frustrated, and I get it, that if you just pull up a box score, the yardage totals are not at all where you'd want them to be for a former 5-star receiver, and I understand that, but I still think he's doing the right things blocking. He's part of playing winning football. That's what Shane always, it's kind of his buzzwords, winning football. I think people might just have to accept that he's not going to be a 1,000-yard receiver like Xavier Legette was, but he still has a place and can help this team.
Alan Cole with us. He's going to hang over the break. We'll talk a little hoops and, again, his travel experience on the beat for the Gamecocks when the post-game show returns.
Have you slept, Alan?
A little bit.
On the plane?
Yeah.
Direct into Charlotte, or what did you do?
Charlotte, and drove down.
Oh, boy, I like that, man. Yeah.
We all asked him the same thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, he looks like crap, but I'm glad he's here right now.
This is
in the most endearing way possible, Alan.
I was going to say, this is a press conference that comes after a big win, isn't it? You know?
It's good stuff. That's Shane having a little fun at the expense, in a good way, as he said, in the most endearing way, with our friend Alan Cole, who
I thought you looked great, Alan. For the record, I thought you looked.
Thank you, Elijah. I appreciate that.
Doing yeoman's work, man. I mean, flying out, driving up to Charlotte, flying to Las Vegas to cover the Carolina women against Michigan, flying straight back overnight to be in Columbia in time for a lunchtime presser. For Shane, and you made it all in fine fashion, sir. So well done.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I wish I had some heroic story about like running to a plane or barely making it or needing to ask Shane the most important question of my career. I don't know. I can sleep on flights. I didn't mind. The red eye was cheaper. I don't mind getting up and driving in the morning once I land. It was just an easier way to do it, and I don't know. Shane made it sound cooler than it was.
Yeah, well, listen, good for you, because I cannot sleep on an airplane. I have attempted it, and I suppose I've dozed from time to time, but anything meaningful in a car or a plane for me just ain't happening. I got to have a pillow and a bed, it feels like. So good for you, sir. Let's talk about that ball game. The tighter than expected, I suppose. Dawn's not going to mind that because she likes when her team gets pushed by big-time opponents, but maybe this one was a little closer than expected?
Yeah, I think so. I think there was a lot of mystery with Michigan coming in. They had 5 freshmen and 3 transfers on their roster. They started 3 true freshmen. No one really knew what they were going to be, and I think it's possible that Michigan's a pretty good team, but obviously we're here to talk about South Carolina. The main thing for me, the main takeaway is that one, March is a long way away, and I wouldn't necessarily call it a panic button, but this is going to take some time on offense to figure out. Elijah said in the last segment that Josh Simon's kind of easy button offense for South Carolina in football. And I think for 3 years you had easy button offense with Camila Cardoso at women's basketball. Throw the ball up to the 6'7" player. She'll either score or miss and get her own rebound or get fouled or do something. And you just don't have that. I think South Carolina's posts will play better than they did on Monday. You didn't get much from Sanaya Figget. You didn't get much from Miriam Dowd. I thought Chloe Kitts was outstanding and probably the reason you won that game more than anything else.
Yeah.
And obviously getting Watkins back will help. But it's going to take some time to find an identity for this offense. And that might mean losing a game or two in non-con. And I don't think that's the end of the world.
Chloe's 2 free throws late were huge because that game, again, a 2-point game to a 9-point game, back to a 2-point game. And, you needed to make some free throws at some point, and finally she knocked those down. Conversely, Elijah was at the men's game. I retweeted you. I know you were paying attention to both at the same time, so good on you. Look, it's one game out of many, but it will be an anchor around Carolina basketball in terms of the net ranking. They're going to have to find a way to overcome that, right?
Yeah, I said it to someone else out there. You did the one thing you can do in an individual game that the selection committee actually cares about in November, which is lose a home game to a mid-major who isn't very good. I mean, that was a team that went 16-16 in the A-Sun last year in North Florida. That's going to sit there all year. There's no way around it. I mean, whatever number of SEC wins you thought you needed to get to make the tournament, you're probably going to need 2 more than that now, just to offset what you did on Monday night. So it's not the end of the season. I think you can still get better, but there's no way around it. That was about as damaging as night 1 of the season could be for the men's basketball team.
Yeah, watching that game too, I was, for the most part, kind of perplexed at how they got out rebounded by North Florida and the perimeter defense aspect of it. I didn't think they really guarded the perimeter well at all, especially in that second half. But you look at this team right now, what do you kind of feel like the identity of it is and how they're going to win ball games? Whereas last year it was just defense and rebounding and toughness and choking the game out from a possession standpoint.
Yeah, I will say I didn't watch the entire game. I watched most of the second half from Vegas, so I'm probably not as well equipped to speak on it as you are, Elijah. But from what I've seen and heard and what I saw in the exhibition game that we were both at last week, I think it's going to have to be this inside-out kind of offense stuff. I think you don't have the perimeter players you talked about. I think Talon Cooper's loss on the defensive end is as much of it loss on the offensive end that people maybe weren't expecting going into the year. I think you're going to have to play through your best players more. CMB, more paint touches, Nick Pringle facilitating the offense. I think that's just what it's going to have to be, because for all that you think Cam Scott can be, for all that you think Jamari Thomas can be, I know he played better Monday than he did in the exhibition game. That's not Michi Johnson and Talon Cooper back there. Like, you have a deficit right now in the backcourt that you're going to have to make up somewhere, and I think it's going to have to be down low.
Alan, good stuff, buddy. Appreciate you. Glad you made it back. We'll talk soon.
You like sports? What kind of question is that? Of course you do. That's why you're listening to this program right now. But do you like making money off of your knowledge of sports? I know you do. That's a yes. Everyone's saying yes right now. And the best place to do that is with my friends over at Prize Picks. It's my favorite daily fantasy sports app, and it's incredibly easy. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. And with professional football coming back this week on Thursday night, I kind of like Chase Brown from Cincinnati to have a big game, especially since Zach Moss isn't there. I know they traded for a running back, but look, I think he's going to get the carries. Go more on rushing yards for Chase Brown. Look, they have flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. They have injury insurance, so if a player goes down in the first half, your lineup can still be live. That's why Prize Picks is number one. If you download the app and use promo code 1075GAME, again, 1075GAME, you'll get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
Well, they both had great wins in terms of on the road, Ohio State against Penn State this week, Georgia at Texas. But what we felt is in terms of the losses they had, Ohio State lost to number 1 Oregon by 1, and Georgia lost at Alabama, who's ranked number 11. And so that was really the difference. I mean, we're splitting hairs in terms of looking at two great teams.
That is Michigan's athletics director, Ward Manuel, who is the chair of the College Football Playoff Selection Committee. No envy there, I assure you, on why Ohio State is number 2 and Georgia is number 3. But that's really not the big issue, right?
It's not. No, because he's correct on that.
Yeah.
I think they got that right. Zero qualms.
Yeah, I don't have
whatsoever.
a problem. Like I said, I would put Georgia 2 because I just think Georgia's better. But that's a dumb way to look at it. And if you sit in a committee for long enough, they probably would have convinced me to go, no. And it's fine. Listen, they still got games to play.
Big ones.
That's why it's not that big a deal yet.
Ohio State has to take them on mighty Indiana.
But I'm not always here for some of the especially the week 1 fury, man. Like there's going to be a time where somebody gets upset. But I just don't look. I mean, just keep winning your football games, and it'll all shake out. We'll get into more CFP talk in just a little bit. Thanks as always to our buddy Alan Cole for joining us.
Well traveled.
We got right there at the end of the hour. It ran out of time, but Alan _ 2 underscores. Alan _ Cole. That's how you follow him on the Twitters, and GamecockScoop.com is the website. We talked a lot of Gamecock football in the first hour, and we'll continue some of that right now. Michael is on the line and wants to discuss. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are y'all today?
Doing well, buddy.
That's good. That's good. I meant to call in. I tried to call in Monday, but I got disconnected. But I just want to talk a little bit about the game. I don't mean to toot my own horn or anything. I'm a real humble guy or whatever. But I did
toot that horn, man. Whatever it is. Oh yeah,
this is your victory lap,
do
Michael.
it. Well, I don't even know what it is yet, and I want you to do it.
But I remember calling in Thursday or Friday, and I think I said that this was going to be Lenore Sellers' breakout game. I remember saying that he'll probably have around 250 passing yards, a couple passing touchdowns, a rushing touchdown, and no turnovers. And when I look at the stat sheet, 244 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, and no turnovers. So, but I think the thing that most impressed me was just his pocket awareness against A&M, because I think, me personally, watching him throughout the season, I think that was one of his biggest issues. He didn't have a lot of pocket awareness. He couldn't sense where the blitz was coming from, and when he did, he just never saw it. He never sensed where guys were. And A&M is like, it was a completely different person playing quarterback. I mean, those plays where he sensed where it was coming from, he adjusted the way he was holding the ball while he was running to make sure it didn't get stripped from him. It just amazes me how much growth he has during the season and how we're watching it unfold. And if he can continue to develop that arm, he's special. Yeah. I mean, he's going to be really special. I'm just excited for Carolina football going forward, and I'm just excited to see what he's going to turn into.
Well, first off, Michael, for all the things you said, you get this.
Well done. He did call it. I remember him saying that.
I remember that. Yeah. So well done. No. Yeah. We have been discussing that this week, and listen, Monday we were slammed, so it's tough to get in on Mondays. I promise you. But we talked about it with Ryan yesterday. We just talked about it with Alan. The game slowing down. There's lots of different ways to look at this to measure what it is that Lenore's is doing. But again, some fans don't want to hear it as much when it comes to the turnovers in the Alabama game. But I thought he played a good game that day. And again, I say minus that, and you can't just go, well, that didn't happen, or it's no big deal. No, it is a big deal. It is a big deal. There were still teachable moments, learning moments for him. And I think he processed that really, really well. You go to the Oklahoma game, and the defense was so electric, so early, that maybe we don't see a full accounting of what he's able to do on the road in a tough environment against a very good defense. I know Oklahoma's offense is bad this season, and it is. It is. The facts are the facts. But that said, he managed the game very well, and Oklahoma still got after him.
Oh yeah,
you know, I mean, they still, you know, there were still things that he was able to do. But I think we talked about it. Oklahoma had like 11 TFLs that game, and that's not all on him. You know, but I mean, I'm just saying they were still a very active defense.
That game, it was like he made enough plays to win the game.
Yeah.
And he didn't do any of
and
the
that's
stuff
what you're
that
asked
would
to
lose
do,
you the
right?
game, right? That's like the bare minimum for a quarterback is that you make the plays that are required to win the game without putting the ball in harm's way or giving the other team additional points, especially with a defense like this. So that's where the positive was. I know a lot of people were still kind of concerned about the look of the offense, and I get it because it looked great overall.
Right.
But like he took that one victory as an offense of not turning the ball over, not giving Oklahoma any points themselves, and turned that into with a week, for the bye, to be able to turn that into the performance we had the other night, which is clearly his best of the season. And again, he did not turn the ball over.
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing right here too. And now when you can see the other stuff like him being able to utilize his Cam Newton-esque size and be able to break tackles in the backfield and run rampant and be able to be a one-man offense at times. That's when you really see what the promise can be.
What? Hang on a second.
Good call, Michael.
Yeah, it was, Michael. Well done, buddy.
Take that victory lap.
Yeah. No doubt. Lenoris is listed at 6'3", 242. You think that's a legit 242? You think he might be more?
242 sounds right. It looks right.
And I mean, I don't mean this in a bad way. I wonder if he's a little bigger. He's a big boy.
He is. But 242
is big.
Right. That's big.
That's
big. That looks right. Seeing him without pads, it looks right. I've seen him without pads before, and that looks about right. I'm not good at eyeballing weight. I will say.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I can do height very well.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, it's because you're tall. You get to see over most people, and you can say, well, I am this much taller than you, therefore you're that tall. Most of us don't have that luxury. So, nice going. Now, thank you,
That's
Michael. Right. Going back to the Oklahoma game, too, and, I as you now know, Elijah, I am one that somewhat bristles at the term, game manager in the sense, he's just a game manager. Every quarterback better, at bare minimum, be a game manager. I got no problem with you calling any quarterback a game manager. That's good. That's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. And it's not a knock to say that's all he can do. If that's all you can do and your team is winning behind you or because of you and your management, cool. Right? Everybody's not going to be the first pick in the draft.
Then cha-ching, that's winning football games. That's what we're here to do.
I mean, I got no problem with that. And so that's, Shane said they didn't dial it back too much early in the ball game, and they probably didn't because you want to go ahead and keep your foot on the gas. But ultimately, you don't want to put yourself in harm's way, and they didn't. And I thought he did well there. And then he was asked to go do more last week, and he did it. And then the individual stuff, like you said, the Cam Newton type stuff. And we'll be careful trying to use that particular name too much because
that's why I like to put the emphasis on the Cam Newton-esque size.
Yeah, esque. I like that.
Yeah.
No, because Cam was super special. But we'll see what Lenoris turns into ultimately. But I keep coming back that you had to remind me multiple times on Monday. 12 broken tackles for Lenoris alone.
They're Heisman-winning running backs that don't put up those totals. It
does make you wonder, and I think it's fair to question A&M from, say, the fourth broken tackle. Hey, you quit trying the same thing because Elko did say in postgame, we kept going high on him, and at some point, doesn't somebody go, hey, go hips or lower?
Yeah.
And I don't know if they did or if just in the moment guys are just not thinking about that. I don't know. And I think back and sort of reverse it to go to a different topic, with Devo coming in on those fourth down stops and going low and saying you got to go low.
Takes away any chance for him to push the pile.
Yeah, I mean, just those little fine margins and how big of a difference they're able to pay off for you. But I think, Michael, you make a great point. We're seeing the growth. And, to what degree, I don't know yet. I mean, there's still a really high ceiling here. Mm-hmm. And as Shane pointed out yesterday, there's still going to be mistakes. It's not like, remember that A&M game? That was the last time. We're going back 20 years from now, right? That was the last time Lenoris ever had a turnover. He's going to throw interceptions. He's going to fumble the football. And Shane talked about a hat on the ball kind of a thing. Just don't do the ones where you had like basically a full level of control over it. Mm-hmm. And the 2 against Alabama, that was on you, Lenoris. And Lenoris knows that.
Yes.
And he seemingly has moved past that. There will still be times when he is harassed and is going to make a mistake. You got to mitigate those things and figure out, where you can be better. I thought he's done a really nice job so far overall. And again, you're talking about a guy, Carolina's played 8 games and he's played what? 6.5, 5.5, 6.5 of them, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's still a work in progress.
His quarterbacking career in college football is still in its infancy.
Yeah. So, Michael, thank you for the phone call. We'll hit the break, come back, got some college football playoff issues to discuss, and again, still a lot of sound to get to from Dowell on Lenoris and many other things around the Gamecock offense. Clayton White speaking today as well as the Gamecocks get ready for that 4:15 matchup in Nashville Saturday against the Commodores. Before we hit the break, do want to remind you that our brand new craft beer card has arrived. It is now just $59. We are saying to heck with inflation. We are charging you less money to save money when it comes to craft beer all around town. Go to 1075thegame.com, click on Sweet Deals. You'll be saving about $300 on some really good beers. Again, all over the metro area. The brand new craft beer card, $59, 1075thegame.com. You're listening to the Postgame Show. How many times you wake up going, oh, man, I can barely move my neck. Oh, my back. And you try to stretch it out. It's just not happening for you. It might be time to go see our friends at the Joint Chiropractic Centers. Local owners Janet and Bob Keene just want one thing for you: improve your overall health with affordable, convenient chiropractic care. If you've been bothered by back, neck, shoulder, joint pain, they are ready to help you out. No appointment is ever necessary, and you don't have to worry about insurance. If you've never been to a chiropractic center and you've got some questions, listen, for just $29, you'll get a consultation, an exam, and an adjustment. See what it can do for you. And once again, no appointment ever necessary. You can be in and out. They're open Monday through Friday, 10 to 7, Saturdays, 10 to 4, and they've got Joint Chiropractic Centers all across the country. Here in Columbia, Harbison, Forest Drive, Roberts Branch, and Sunset, you don't have to feel bad to feel better at the Joint. Welcome back into the post-game show here on this Wednesday afternoon. Starting to rain a little bit in downtown Columbia. Elijah will have traffic for you in just a little bit. And I imagine that it's going to get busy because it hadn't rained here since, 2017?
Something like that. I wasn't here then, so I couldn't even confirm to you that happened.
It's been a while, man. I don't know. No, I know the last time it rained, we actually had some pretty serious stuff happen. But it does feel like the last time we did have big rain was the hurricane. Maybe we had a shower or two.
Yeah, some small ones, but not
nothing major.
Nothing crazy.
But it looks like we might actually get something.
It's been dark all day. I feel like it's just been very dark.
Yeah, clouds coming in, and now we got this. We're headed toward the shortest day of the year in about
coming up
6 weeks,
something like that.
Yep. But then after the new year, then it starts to brighten up again. Later in the day. But these are the dark times. Before the Empire. Sorry, throw a little Star.
You had to.
Star Wars in there.
I saw your eyes get big.
Yeah. Well, if you set me up, or if I set myself up. Well, you kind of set me up.
In a way.
You did.
But more Star Wars references on the show is welcomed, in all honesty.
Yeah. Dark times for Arsenal in the Champions League today, but I'll try not to mention too much more of that because it'll just make me upset. But they're losing.
Well, I'll mention it then.
They're losing in Italy right now. So CFP rankings are out. We'll get you into some sound from the coordinators just a little bit, but CFP rankings are out. So let's jump on that for you. These are the ones that matter now. Oregon is number 1, Ohio State 2, Georgia 3, Miami 4, Texas 5. Good with the top 5. Now, really top 4. Now, remember, this isn't the old days. So these are the rankings, not the seedings. And some have come out with seedings as well.
Yes.
And those seedings have basically been that top 4, right? Because they're the expected ones now to win the Power 4 conferences. Oregon or Ohio State, one of them will be out. But who's BYU?
In terms of teams left out of that
and then Boise. Right,
and BYU can get that 4 spot because they're projected.
Yeah, they would get if it were to end today like this, then BYU would get the 4 seed
if they were to win. Yeah, the Big 12 championship.
Penn State,
that conference can go anywhere, man. Anyone can win that thing.
Texas lost at home to Georgia. Okay, Penn State lost at home. They're 6 to Ohio State. Okay, Tennessee lost at Arkansas. Not a good look that day. Indiana is 8th at 9-0. Again, I'm assuming here strength of schedule, not eye test.
Yeah.
Because Indiana isn't just winning. Like as we said, Indiana has 9 wins, no defeats. They have their 2 lowest margins of victory are 14-point wins. They have no nail biters, none.
Mm-hmm.
And they have some where 2 of their games, I think they won by 137. I mean, they're killing people. But they're 8th, and
had their starting quarterback miss games.
Yeah, I just look. I'm not going to get too worked up, and so when I start to, Elijah, I need you to just give me a mental slap. But I do think that this committee is guilty last night of. I saw it described from I forget which pundit I was listening to, but I agreed, helmet logo bias. Yeah. Indiana just isn't expected to be here, so they can't be that good. This is a fluke. Okay,
we didn't think they'd be that good in July.
I don't care if it's a fluke, right? It's November,
and they haven't lost.
Yeah, and again, they aren't winning nail biters. I mean, Coach Cignetti has them beating people and taking names.
Beating the hell out of people.
Yeah. I mean, look what here, if nothing else, and I'm really kind of serious about this for a minute, and I'm not really dissing Ohio State. Look at what Indiana did to Nebraska, and look at what Ohio State did with Nebraska.
Use some common.
Now, I'm not trying, and they'll see each other next week. And I expect Ohio State to win that football game because I expect Ohio State to pretty much win every football game they play.
Yes, because that is the best roster in America.
But Indiana should be ahead, in my personal opinion, of Texas, Penn State, and Tennessee.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all I'm asking.
That's totally fair. Especially Penn State. Especially Penn State, because they have suffered a loss and they don't have a win to hang their hat on as like this is a signature win. Their best win is probably at West Virginia, not ranked. They've lost a lot of games. They lost a few games. In Illinois, when Illinois was ranked. Well, Illinois is no longer ranked because Illinois is losing football games. So you don't have a signature win. And here's the thing with Indiana. You may not say they don't have signature wins, but they're beating the hell out of people. And Penn State, say Illinois, like a pretty close game, relatively 21-7. It was a relatively close game. They played UCLA. That was a 16-point win. But what Indiana did to UCLA on the road was inhumane. They beat them significantly worse on the road. You can look at common opponents and still be able to come away from the conclusion that, Indiana has a better resume right now. So to put them over that kind of goes back to your point. It's people expected Penn State to be better this year in July, and they're still receiving that benefit of the doubt. You should no longer be receiving that benefit of the doubt in November. And
unless they have, and I'm kind of serious about this, unless they have like a bookmaker in the room with them and they ask, and they might, I don't know, and they ask, hey, give us a neutral field spread or give us some intel on how you might look at this. And now I get to be the cynic and the smart aleck that I am.
That happens.
Well, no. But then I guess if they do that, then tell me how Georgia was number 6 last year going into the playoff, right? When they were going to be favored to beat everybody on the list ahead of them. So I just, again, maybe there's my gripe is, and if you don't want to put them ahead of Georgia and Ohio State, I'll give you that. With the 1 losses. I'm not necessarily...
Because those aren't disqualifying losses.
Yeah, I'm not Mr. Undefeated. I know some people are, and that's fine. That's the way it used to be. Like I say, if we really want to go all the way back to the way it used to be, then let's just go back to pre-BCS and see what happens, right? So there does have to be some form of eye test or what you think. But that's what I'm saying. I don't know if Indiana would beat Tennessee, Penn State, or Texas. I have no idea. My head tells me they wouldn't. Why? Because they're Indiana. But guess what? Indiana's doing some good things. BYU right behind him, undefeated. BYU has gone to Dallas and beaten SMU, who they have at number 13.
Yeah. That actually that's a really good point. BYU has a better resume. They have a better win than either Indiana or Penn State have. And they also don't have a loss, something Penn State can't say.
So
that makes sense.
That's a really good point. Notre Dame's 10. That's fine. Bama, Boise, SMU, A&M, LSU. That's 11 through 15. SMU.
Hey, another note on BYU's schedule or BYU's resume too. They also beat the hell out of number 19 Kansas State. At home, like a drum. That wasn't close at all.
I don't have much of a problem with any of those in the top 15, at least 11 through 15. That sounds about right. LSU and Bama are going to, they both have 2 losses. The loser this weekend is pretty much done, right?
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much done.
Loser leaves town. Definitively.
If it's LSU that loses, there's still an outside opportunity for LSU, with help, obviously, to make the SEC championship game and then go win that, because one of LSU's losses is a non-con. Both of Bama's are in conference play. They lost to Vandy and Tennessee.
So imagine LSU backdooring their way into the SEC championship game with 3 season losses. And remember, at the beginning of the year, we basically said if you're in the SEC championship game, you are firmly cemented in the college football playoff. I think I've just now discovered a scenario in which that's not true. 9-3 LSU goes to the SEC championship game, gets drubbed, is 9-4. There is no way you let a 9-4 team into the college football playoff.
They're not. I agree.
Regardless,
unless there's just a bunch of carnage in the next 3 weeks,
right? And then the bubble teams,
which I'm here for. Listen, I'm here for What was it that Ryan said last? Chaos and death or something? What was it we were talking about last week?
Death, yeah, chaos and death,
something like that.
I know death was in there. I don't know if it was chaos specifically, I'm here for it. Destruction, death and destruction, actually, is what I think he alluded to.
Iowa State is 17. Ole Miss 16, Iowa State 17, Pitt 18, K-State 19. Colorado is number 20. Again, Colorado signature win is...
Whom?
At Central Florida? At Arizona? No. Well, no. So I mean, really? I don't know. Okay. I mean, I'm not dogging them. You telling me that's the 20th best team in America? I'm
against a Washington State team whose only sin is losing to Boise State, who is number 12.
Yeah, I'm not really sure of that. But Washington State 21. Louisville is the only 3-loss team in the top 25. They just beat Clemson, who's right behind them at 23. Missouri is 24. Army is 25. Go Army. I didn't say that out loud because my father-in-law would get mad, but it's just cool that Army's ranked.
And it's still undefeated.
Yeah, 8-0. Missouri, here we go. Missouri, again, signature win.
Why? Signature win, Vanderbilt at home. Congratulations, in double overtime.
I think it is, right? I mean, I'm dead. I think you're serious too, right?
Yeah, dead serious.
When they beat Boston College was number 24, but they're not anymore. What is BC's record right now, Elijah?
Let me pull that up real quick because I can't imagine. They have definitely fallen off a little bit. Boston College is 4-4.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, and again, I don't say this to diss Vandy. I kind of say it to diss the committee. I mean, but I mean, Vandy is Missouri's best win, and as you pointed out, their 2 losses are a combined 75-10. At A&M and at Alabama. They didn't score a point against Alabama.
No,
and the bare minimum you can score is 2. So if you don't score a point, it means you didn't score.
At all.
You don't get the 1-point try unless you get 6 in front of it. I know that much.
It's like that's the 2 tests, and they failed them both so miserably.
Yeah.
How the hell? And I'm not even mad at a 3-loss Louisville getting in because Louisville's 3 losses are all the teams inside the college football playoff top 13.
Right.
Louisville and South Carolina have very interesting resumes to compare side by side because 3 losses inside the top 13. South Carolina's 3 losses are inside the top 16.
Yeah.
Best win against number 14, Texas A&M at home. Louisville's number 23, Clemson on the road. So
and both were dominant.
And both are dominant, yeah. So, I mean, they're actually pretty comparable.
I agree. So we'll see. Just go win your games. That's what matters. We'll get you some sound from Dowell Loggins when the postgame show returns.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. A few accidents to get to. They're causing some issues on the roadways. Got a couple of serious traffic jams, some stop-and-go traffic. It doesn't look like it's accident-related, but there's still pretty serious traffic jams. One on 20 westbound, just between Faro Road, exit 72, and Monticello Road near exit 68. And then on 26 westbound, between Augusta Road, exit 111, and St. Andrews Road, exit 106. Got a couple more accidents, some accidents that have created some more minor traffic backups, starting with Highway 1 at Augusta Road at North Grampian Hills Road, Summit Parkway at Clemson Road, and Two Notch Road near Pond Branch Road.
We were just going over the college football playoff rankings. The first poll from the committee put out last night. And South Carolina, we predicted South Carolina. I said they'd be 24th. Elijah said 23rd. Only one 3-loss team is in the poll, and that is Louisville at number 22. Louisville.
Yes, say like marbles in your mouth.
Let's just looking at the FPI, the rankings for the FPI, just for what it's worth. South Carolina is 18th in that. In between, but here's the interesting part. In between Southern California and Boise State. Indiana, for what it's worth.
How the hell is Southern Cal still there?
I guess it's their strength of schedule and some of the other things that go into how they do this. There's so many. It's a computer thing, so. That's your realm, dude. That's why
Which is why I'm so perplexed.
I can look at the rankings, and I just trust. I'm a trusting soul, and I just trust that the people that do this know what they're doing. That's all.
Yeah.
Or
the computers, the robots.
Well, somebody's got to program the computer to do these 10,000 simulations a day that the FPI does at ESPN.com.
They should just have Ken Palm do it.
Well, I mean, he does his.
And those are pretty good.
And Jeff Sagarin does his. And I imagine there's some other ones, right? I don't know.
They trusted Jeff Sagarin's enough to determine
the
national title game.
You have yours. We have the EBPI. We have the EFPI.
Which mine is way more scientific, way more accurate.
Yeah.
Subscribe.
I mean, I have one, too. Mine's like
$59.99 a month.
I think they're going to win. And mine's, typically great.
They call it the Vibatron 5000. The J. Phillips Vibatron 5000.
The Gambletron 2000 says Miami will win by 200 points.
Classic.
What's that professor's? What's his name? I can't.
I could not tell.
Professor, and then he kicks the Gambletron 2000. He's like saying, because he knows that's ridiculous, but he's all excited to tell you how his computer model is going to work. That's all I remember. Miami will win by 200 points, and he just starts kicking the thing. It's great.
Slight miscalculation there.
Let's get into some sound from Dowell Loggins here. A lot from Dowell about the offensive line, which, by the way, if I may, was it yesterday's poll or the day before? I was kind of surprised with all of the, not necessarily negativity in poll answers about Gamecock football but like when it's been, what's your biggest concern or what needs to improve or things like that. And we put offensive line and then whatever else, and offensive line just destroys the rest of the poll.
It is by far and away the biggest concern Gamecock Nation has about this football team.
And yet,
all season long.
Yet the other day, I think it finished like 3rd or 4th.
In terms of what they're impressed by.
Yeah. And I was like, come
Crazy
on, man. Come on.
Maybe a testament to how good Lenore Sellers looked.
An offensive line is like an officiating crew. Right? If you don't have to talk about, if you don't notice them, then, that's a good thing. Maybe that's what it is, right? I don't know. But, we'll go to cut one here. Here's Dowell on, how much better those guys up front were playing.
I got you. Sorry about that. No, I think it's you get a bye week. I told you guys we tweaked kind of some of the stuff we did during the bye week offensively with the schedule, and just had a chance to really focus on ourselves and get right, and also do some more study and have some more time on Texas A&M, elite defense and one rushing defense in the SEC for a reason. They do a great job schematically and talent. You tie it all together, and they're a handful, and there's a reason why I think they might have the best record in the SEC. But a lot of credit to our guys. Like, they took the challenge very serious. They knew what they needed to do. They knew what the areas and some of those things we need to improve. And we got a couple extra days to work on them, which obviously helped as well. But the credit goes to not just those guys, but it's also Josh Simon and Rocket and Lenoris. Lenoris got us out of a couple tough spots, and so it's just all those guys, taking the extra week of prep serious and being dialed in the game plan, and they did a great job handling that stuff.
Look, Lenoris made some individual plays that might have pulled the offensive line out of a couple of jams. There's no doubt about that. But, again, we've talked so much, and I think it matters, about the continuity of this offensive line. So there is definitely reason to smile, to think that they are, getting to where they want to be. What Vandy and Missouri do these next couple of games in the final two conference games, Elijah, to try and figure out where there's still – weaknesses to exploit, and there are, will be interesting to me, because I don't know that either of those defenses are nearly as physical as the last two that South Carolina saw. So while they will look to exploit where those things are, what has South Carolina learned about itself against Oklahoma? Really, the last three. Let's go to the last three, right?
Well, I think that was kind of where we can pinpoint the improvement of the offense a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama defense, Oklahoma defense, A&M defense. And I know you played the Ole Miss defense. I'm not going to say you did. Well, again, that day just was, I don't know.
They also just beat you over the head for 4 quarters.
Yeah. And maybe they had their best day that day. Who knows?
Yeah.
Right?
But, I mean, in terms of just like what are you lately, I think a last 3-game stretch against those defenses is a really good sample size to choose from without having to dig back to data we got from September. So I think that's, I think you can maybe now look at Ole Miss more as a one-off.
Yeah.
As it is a trend, because now we're at the point where this offense has looked a whole lot better the last 3 games. And if they're able to, at least the offensive line, if they're able to take advantage of the 2 least physical ones between Vanderbilt and Missouri after this, I mean, then I think you can really look and say that they're turning that corner.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to look at Ole Miss as a one-off until they put me in the grave.
Yeah, till the end of time.
For this season. I will always contend
that take is becoming more vindicated now the more we're going into the season, because I think you play those 2 teams right now, it's not a 24-point game.
You take yourself out of it and your crowd out of it, and you just never got it back. That's how I feel. It may seem simple when you say what's the importance of offensive line play, but as Dowell goes, there are a lot of things to talk about, the nuances. Here's more on that particular topic.
You see, the NFL is a line of scrimmage league. And the best, you go back, you look at the NFL, like, you're not going to have good teams without great offensive lines. You're not going to have great defenses without great defensive lines. I say this all the time. Coverage always beats protection. Protection always beats coverage. Like, if you can protect long enough, like, your wide receivers have more time to get open. Defensively, if you can sack and affect the quarterback, like, your DBs all of a sudden become better.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, go get better at what you do. I love the fact that they've got the continuity. And at this point, have you seen the best you're going to see? I mean, Clemson's defense is very good. Is Clemson's defense better than Mississippi, Alabama, Oklahoma, or Texas A&M? And I'm not here to really debate that right now as much as I think your level of confidence in the defenses you're going to see now as a Gamecock OL, you should feel good about what you're capable of doing.
Well, the point is that it's comparable, right? Yeah. I mean, whether or not they are better isn't necessarily the point per se. Yeah. I mean, we could be arguing the semantics. But if they're in that
they're in that neighborhood,
they certainly are. Yeah. And who knows? Maybe out of those, if we're grouping, Clemson, Ole Miss, Alabama, A&M, We're just grouping those four. I mean, maybe they're 3 or 4. It doesn't even matter if they're 1 or 2, but they're in that, like you said, they're in that same ballpark. They are all very good comps to the point where you can look at what you did against Alabama, what you did against, A&M, and even Oklahoma, I guess, to a degree, and say, well, we know what the floor is with the Ole Miss game. We know what the ceiling is with the A&M game, and you know that you're probably on the higher end of that spectrum. So, I mean, it's one of those things. It doesn't matter if they're the best or not, but that's a very fair comp to the point where you can still feel comfortable about your chances in that game.
It is 16 minutes in front of 5 o'clock. More from Dowell when the postgame show returns. 12 minutes in front of 5 o'clock on this Wednesday afternoon, getting a little rainy, dreary in downtown Columbia. That's the best I can tell you in terms of the eye test, because that's where I am. But wherever you might be, maybe it's not as bad.
What's your WPI number on this, the weather power index?
The rain is going to win for a while. I'm going to give the rain...
Interesting metric you're spitting out here.
Going to give it an 82% chance to keep coming down for the next little bit.
Nice.
Which is not the same as the percentage chance of rain around whatever. It's a difference.
Okay, yeah, because that is, like when someone says there's an 80% chance of rain, that means it is raining in 80% of that area, right?
Yeah, which I still have a real difficult time with.
I didn't know that was a thing until A.J. Brown in a press conference said he didn't know it was a thing. And that taught me that was a thing.
Yeah, I've talked, I've had this conversation. Tyler and Terry got mad at me about this. They were like, so you're disputing like weather professionals? I was like, no, I talked to a weather professional and there's like a little bit of a blend. Like, for instance, okay, let's say, because the area that they're talking about is a man-made area. Like somebody drew lines, right?
Yes.
For like a listening area. I don't know exactly. It's not just a circle, or just Earth, right? Like it's an area that's like, in your, whatever area. Okay, well, how big is the area? Think about it like this. Let's say that they say it's a 20% chance of rain. Okay, and as you said, whatever that is that means in that area that they're forecasting for, 20% of it's going to see rain. Well, you don't know which 20%. And what if it doesn't?
Helps me none.
Like, what if it doesn't? Like, are you guaranteeing that it's going to rain? And so I think of it like this. If I had 5 marbles and you put them in a hat for me to draw one out. One's red and the other 4 are green. And I mix them all up and I can't see in that hat. I got a 20% chance of pulling out that red one, right?
Yes.
Right, but if I pull out, I get one draw.
Terrible at word problems, though. This is like an ACT.
I get one draw. If I pull out a green one, I don't get another chance. Like, what if the day goes by and there was no rain? I don't understand that. So I always thought that it was more of based on what has happened in the past with the conditions being what they are, 20% of the time it rained or 30% of the time it rained or whatever. So I don't know. Anyway, but my WPI says that right now, I'm just going to do Ollie. It's raining.
It's raining.
So,
Ollie was always accurate.
When they shot to Ollie and it was raining, I love Ollie.
You know what the O in Ollie stood for?
Tell me.
100% accurate.
There it is. One more here from Dow Loggins.
Hey, you like that?
See, we can get going if we're not careful here. So I'll pull it back in. Dow Loggins. On, wanting to see even further continuity and what it means for the offensive line, Carolina.
Both, and that it really is, and that's to hail to the point is not just that simple. If it was, we'd play like that every week, but it's getting 5 guys to play well together. The only way to increase the value of the team is increase your own personal value. And how does a young player do that? He plays. Like Lenore's to this point has played better every week, and Josiah is getting better every week. And some of these young guys Mazio Bennett's getting better every week. The offensive line gets to play every time they get to play together as a unit of 5, they get a little bit better, or they should get a little bit better. I told you guys that when this whole thing started, I knew where we were going to start. I knew what we had. I knew that there were going to be growing pains. I knew this thing was going to be hard. I knew that there was good in front of us. And now we've shown a little peek of it, but it doesn't matter what we did last week if we don't go out and play well and place and strain and win a ball game this week. It doesn't matter. Like, no one cares, and that's the intensity that everyone has to take in this whole game. But to their credit, they played really well last week. But now we're on to the next one, and the next one, this is the biggest one of the season.
It is, and again, can't, in my opinion, overstate the importance of playing with the exact same levels of intensity that you've shown in the last 3 ball games. I know one of them was a loss, but you played, again, I'm going to contend that you played well enough to win at Alabama.
Yes.
So I want to keep that. And then you definitely...
You lost football within the margins of football being lost.
Yes. Again, you can, believe it or not, you can play well in a game and lose. It is possible for that to occur.
That's why it was such a good game.
Beyond that, in the last 2 wins, you've done it by a combined 50 points. This Vanderbilt team is better than any Vanderbilt team has been in at least a decade.
Maybe more.
Maybe more. But I'm
Maybe
saying
longer.
in at least, I think you told us the last time they were ranked at all at any poll was 2013. So let's just saying, looking at that as a line of demarcation, we'll go there. But, dial it up. And not only that, dare I say, man, because I don't often say this about Carolina football, but I'm going to from this point on, based on how I think the narrative has changed. You can maybe go out there like you've done the last 2 weeks, a third week in a row, win with a little flair.
Yeah, with a little bit of pizzazz. That's very possible. Because look, the way Vanderbilt's style of play is, where they try to choke the game out, smother it by holding the ball for very long, not turning it over, and basically dragging you into a one-score game, can go out of hand if you get up on them early. That's the thing. That's the thing Texas didn't necessarily do particularly well. It's one thing Alabama definitely didn't do well, is get up on them early. Vanderbilt got up on Alabama early and then was able to do what they do. So you get up on them early and make them have to play more plays in a game, then you could be in a spot to win this game with a little more pizzazz than you thought.
Man. Hour 3 coming up. Headlines of the day, including the latest on the Ashlyn Watkins situation. We'll have more sound from Dowell and Clayton, plus the drive around the SEC. You are listening to the Wednesday afternoon postgame show. Our good friends at Cato's Power Equipment ready to help you out as we get into the fall months here of keeping the yard looking good this time of year. Their 4th annual Black Friday sale is going to be bigger and more popular, Ben Cato tells me, than they've ever imagined. It's a 2-week sale. It starts on the 18th, runs through the 29th. Now, they'll be closed on Thanksgiving, and they will be closed early on the Wednesdays. They do that during the fall, but that's okay. You get in there any other time. All right, this just lets you know. Steel units priced at least 15% off. Many things 20% off. And that's valid on all steel products in stock. Steel fleet, government, 501c3 organizations, you're going to save even more. And that's just for starters. Tory, Gravely, Zero Turns are discounted as well. There are so many things. I can't tell you about all of it. Go to CatosPowerEquipment.com and learn more, or stop in and see them at 4012 West Beltline Boulevard. Family owned, Cato's Power Equipment.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to, they're causing some issues on the roadways, starting with 2 non-accident related, but we still have some pretty severe stop-and-go traffic. One on 20 westbound between exit 73 and exit 65. Another one on 26 westbound, that's between exit 111 and exit 106. We do have some accidents, though, that are causing some more minor backups. That's going to be on I-77, both north and southbound at Fort Jackson Boulevard near exit 10, Leaphart Road near Chris Drive, Long Green Parkway at Clemson Road, South Carolina 277 southbound at Fontaine Road, and Summit Parkway at Clemson Road.
It is 5 o'clock news time here on a Wednesday afternoon. Welcome back into the postgame show. Our final hour underway from the Herndon Chevy Studios in downtown Columbia. He's Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. And both of us, thank you very much for choosing to spend some of your afternoon with us. Be safe out there. As Elijah just told you, it's raining. And it will get a little more crowded out there in the next couple of minutes. We'll start with breaking news this afternoon. And I guess some of this began to trickle out yesterday, but today, a few hours ago, South Carolina officially sent out a release lifting the suspension of Ashlyn Watkins after the assault and kidnapping charges against her were dismissed. She had been suspended since August, but she was permitted to attend class at the university, just not to be part of the team. In a very brief statement, it said that with the dismissal of legal charges, South Carolina junior forward Ashlyn Watkins has returned to team activities, beginning with practice today. She has not worked out with the team so far this season. She did not get to attend the White House ceremony when the Gamecocks were honored for their title win, and she did not go with the team, obviously, to Las Vegas for their opener against Michigan. She will be having a big role on this team. Listen, Chloe Kitts played very well the other night, and it was expected that Ashlyn would, primarily be the one to take over, I think, for Camilla. I mean, Chloe doesn't always play quite down low in the exact same way, certainly as Camilla did. Ashlyn can do more of that. How Dawn, what's the word I'm looking for here, reincorporates her, I suppose, into the rotation will be interesting. You've got NC State this weekend. I don't know that you see a lot of her this weekend. You may see a minute or two. I don't know. Dawn may say, listen, I'm going to keep you out one more game.
Yeah.
This is
also possible.
Yeah. She's obviously, there's been a lot of punishment, even if the charges were dismissed. There were reasons for them, and we've gotten into that before, and there's some of this stuff obviously stays private, and we don't know all of the details. But I imagine Dawn will handle things the way Dawn sees fit and move along. So whether we see Ashlyn on Sunday up in Charlotte against NC State or not remains to be seen.
Yeah, and that's and if she doesn't play, that would be a pretty tough. I don't want to say blow to South Carolina, but it'd make playing NC State a lot harder. That's a really good team, number 9 in the country. You saw them in the Final Four last year. It's going to be a test to the depth and from a basketball standpoint on Sunday.
How ready is she? We'll see. Again, may not. It's Wednesday. That game is Sunday. She's got a few days of practice, so she can be back with the team. That'll be coach's decision, and I'm going to trust that Dawn knows what she's doing. So there's that. Gamecock football coordinators have spoken today, but Shane Beamer spoke yesterday. I want to get into an interesting one here with Shane that we didn't touch on yesterday, and that is the momentum that Carolina has created. We've talked a lot this afternoon, have Elijah and I, and along with our buddy Alan Cole, who joined us earlier, again, including the Alabama game where you played well. You just didn't win. You lost by 2 in Tuscaloosa, but Bama and Oklahoma and now A&M, this team is trending in the right direction. This is Shane on keeping that momentum wave going.
I think we're certainly off to that start. It goes back to, what Jack had asked about how we just keep it going, and it wasn't just let's just have a great week and go play well against Texas A&M. It's let's finish the month of November the right way, and we did some really good things the other night. Let's keep building on that and keep this momentum going. And practice Sunday night was awesome. There was no hangover. It was more excitement that we get to be back out on the field. And then today's practice was the same thing. More you worry about it, I'll be honest. I mean, human nature, you have such a sky-high game on Saturday night. You worry about can we recreate the same energy and intensity that we displayed last week in practice? And we started this morning with the same way on that. So it's absolutely, there's a lot to clean up from the A&M game. There's some things that we did not do great defensively, special teams-wise and offense. So we got a ways to go, and it's right back to work. But there's also certainly a sense of we're doing some really good things right now. Let's keep this momentum going, and we can't wait to get back out on the field also.
Good stuff from Shane. We'll hear more from OC Dowell Loggins coming up in our 5:15 segment here in just a little bit, so stay tuned for that. Meanwhile, we've had a little bit of sound as well today from Vanderbilt head coach Clark Lee. We heard earlier from him talking about the Gamecock defensive line, but his team has been opportunistic at times in terms of being able to pull off some of the wins they have. This is Clark on what he gets from different phases of the game in terms of making sure that Vandy is where they are right now.
Well, it's a team. I mean, it's a team game. There have been games, obviously, that our offense is kind of carried and set the tone for success. And Saturday, I felt like defensive performance and special teams that set the tone for success. But again, when we needed the offense to come through, I think it was a 14-play, 70-something yard drive that ended up in a touchdown and also took the clock from 13-something to 4-something, right? I mean, that moment in the game was huge. And so in that way, we synced up at the right time. I thought it was a game that, the entire time you're just fighting for some type of control. When we took the lead off the punt return with a field goal, that felt like, with the way we were playing defensively, that felt like a real positive, point for us when we were able to drive down and make it a 10-point game. You kind of sense that it was, we were going to have a chance to close it out. But it's just what the team game's about. I mean, you're going to have off days in one phase. I think we're playing against some really good defenses too. I mean, this is, the third week in a row that we're facing what I consider to be an elite defensive unit. The scheme, the skill. Again, anytime you're talking about dynamic play in the front, it's hard to get things started. We have to kind of dig into our bag of creativity and also, again, put our guys in favorable leverages and favorable matchups to try to get the movement we need. But I was proud of the team aspect of Saturday's game, and I think it speaks to the confidence we have throughout the program right now, not just through one phase.
You could arm wrestle here. These two head coaches could over which team feels better about itself right now. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Which would be kind of funny. Now, I mean, again, we talked about it with Diego Pavia, and we'll talk more about him in the coming days, but he doesn't believe you can beat him, which is great. And South Carolina is starting to feel that way. Again, I don't want to overlook the fact that South Carolina has won their last two football games by a combined 50 points, and the opponents were Oklahoma and Texas A&M. However good or bad they may be.
That's still a pretty solid thing to say here and then conceptualize and be able to look at your season.
Because I am one, as I told you earlier, I am not one routinely anyway with South Carolina football. I may with women's basketball, but that's a different story. But with South Carolina football, I'll tell fans, hey, try not to qualify these wins too much. Did you win the game? You just need to win the game. Some people want to. I get like ODU. We should have won by. I get it, but you didn't. But did you win? Because losing, look at the men's basketball team the other night.
I'm sure they would have loved a close win as opposed to a close loss.
A 75-74 win would have been better than a 74-71 loss. Promise you. Might not have been pretty, and you might have gone gulp anyway, but now you have to triple gulp on that one. But so for South Carolina to have done what they've done the last couple of weeks is certainly, again, to use a term we've used a few times, exceeding expectations. And that's why I said maybe this weekend you can start to put a little bit of that so-called icing on the cake if you think you can go do it. Now, you're only favored by 3.5 points. And the FPI gives you a 60% chance to win the game. But there's a formula you've shown the last couple of weekends that says you do that, and that's how you begin to enhance your status with people that make decisions subjectively.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying. Not saying you need to go do it. If South Carolina wins 14-13, take the win.
Certainly.
Always take the win. You know, better than losing
because the alternative's a loss.
48-45. Like, hey, you scored a lot of points.
Watch this game end up being 48-45 just because we expect it to be lower scoring.
Did you write down this? Did you write down my score? Or what do you think I
did not. I'm doing that right now, actually.
All right. Jack didn't already tell you, did he?
He did not.
Okay.
No. You know what? Jack's a loyal guy. If I texted him and said, "Hey, man, I really need to know what Jay put," I don't think he'd help me out. I think he's true to his word.
Well, that's good. I want him to be honest, if nothing else. Continuing our integrated media headlines of the day, the Carolina Panthers have announced that Bryce Young will be starting against the New York Football Giants this weekend. Andy Dalton's still not ready after that car accident that he and his family were involved in. That's been nearly a month, right? Maybe Andy's a little bit worse off than we thought.
3 weeks, maybe?
Dave Canales. And look, to be fair, you know, they won last week. Canales said today, quote, "This is about the progress from 1 week to the next. I talk about finishing all the time. That's everything. Finish plays, practice, quarters, halves, finish games. He did a fantastic job of finishing that game the right way, finding a way to win, and really battling that way." General Manager Dan Morgan piped in as well at a press conference saying that he never opened the door on wanting to trade Bryce, saying in that very same thing, quote, "I didn't want to trade Bryce." Just because you didn't, Dan, doesn't mean somebody else in the organization didn't.
Speaking for himself.
I mean, we all know where we're looking. That being said, this was interesting today. Quote, "Every week we're assessing Bryce, taking it day by day of just seeing him grow, seeing him develop, be under coach, and work with him. We're excited to see him growing every day. We're excited to work with him in the future. At the end of the day, we'll have those conversations about the long term once the season ends, and we'll see where we're at." That's not real committed, is it?
I mean, watch Bryce Young the last few weeks. Should you be committed? He's been better. I'll say he's been better.
No, I just wouldn't. You know what? Honestly, Elijah, can I be? I don't know if I'd say anything. Just we got a season. I don't know. This is they don't know what the hell they're doing up there, man.
They don't.
I mean, it's just a dysfunctional.
Which is why
group.
I like the transparency of we don't know. We don't know if he's the guy or not. Bryce Young shouldn't have any type of confidence not confidence. That's a bad way to put it. He shouldn't have any assurance that he is. He needs to play like this is absolutely not going to be his, and he's auditioning for other teams. Like, he needs to be able to show some type of growth and development. And I think if you just said, well, you know, we'll talk about it later, then maybe that doesn't do it. I think maybe it just should light a fire under him that, hey, everything will be reevaluated at the end of the season.
I mean, if I'm Dan Morgan, I don't even know if I need to be doing press conferences, to be honest with you. At least not right now. I mean, but anyway, whatever. They got the Giants this weekend, and Bryce is going to play. So we'll see what happens. Giants aren't very good either. Maybe they'll win
another winnable game. I mean, dare I say it? Can they win 2 games in a row?
I wouldn't pick it, but we'll find out. Finally, in our integrated media headlines of the day, men's and women's soccer teams at Carolina both playing yesterday. The men's team beat Georgia Southern over at the Graveyard on senior night. Congrats to Tony Annan's team. 10 wins on the season now. Most wins for Carolina men's soccer since 2016. They draw Kentucky in the opening round of the Sun Belt tournament coming up this weekend. They'll play, I think, Sunday afternoon. I know it's Sunday. I think it's an afternoon game. That tournament being hosted at West Virginia. And Shelley Smith's team last night dismantled Alabama 4-1. Cat Berry with a big night. The Gamecocks, for the second time in just over a week, will get Mississippi State, the number 1 team in the conference, number 2 team in the country. State last night with an OT win over Tennessee, 2-1 final, about 15 seconds into OT. And Tennessee was like, oh, wait, did they kick off? If you see the play, it's a kick wide and then just a beauty into the area. And Tennessee players just kind of looking at the ball. It's like, she's going to kick it and it's going to go in the net. If you don't it's already went in.
Too late.
Yeah, that's what it was, man.
I'll take it.
I watched it. I was like, those girls know they started, right? It was kind of odd. But Tennessee at least it took them to overtime, but it did not last long. So, again, break today. Carolina, the Gamecocks are into the NCAA tournament. I mean, no official bids yet, but they're playing for seeding. And you get a win like that one against State tomorrow, perhaps, and you might be hosting at the Graveyard in the NCAAs. We shall see. That's our integrated media headlines of the day. More from Dowell Loggins talking Gamecock offense when the postgame show returns.
I think confidence is something you build over the weeks, and it's not something you really start with. Like we have new guys. We had new guys coming in at the beginning of the year, and we had to learn how to play together. And I think that's really served us well over playing a bunch of really, really good teams in the front half, and obviously we've got some good teams in the back half too. But now we know how to play together. We know how each other plays, and we're able to mesh together better as an offensive line, and we get better week to week.
That's Gamecock right tackle Kason Henry on what his unit is doing. We heard a lot in the last hour from Dowell Loggins, who we'll hear more from in a second on some of the skill guys. But the guys up front, again, it's a night and day scenario in terms of who's playing. I know people want to see even better play overall. They do too. It certainly is trending in the right direction. But the fact that they've started the same five every week, right? There hadn't been a hiccup, has
Every single week.
Yeah.
It's been the same.
Whereas, again, the opposite was true going into this game last year. It took until this game last year to have consecutive starting fives up front. That's remarkable,
it's
man.
Pretty remarkable. Yeah,
you know?
I mean, that's almost hilarious when you even think about it.
Yeah, I mean,
it makes you wonder last year what it could have looked like, given the production all the way up through the season.
Yeah,
like it's a little bit of continuity.
Well, and you went 12 and 13 deep last year. You were so hurt up front.
Yeah.
And Shane talked about it.
No intention on
right.
playing.
Shane talked about it in the offseason on the things they needed to look at. Like, why is this happening? This is, listen, people get hurt in this sport. Duh.
Yeah.
But this, even for these guys, like this is not normal. And he said they took a really deep look at it. Well, I mean, look, and sometimes it's just dumb luck. I mean, sometimes a dude just rolls up on you and you're out for a month. But it has been a night and day situation. And again, I think it's trending in the right direction. And I know, look, against Oklahoma, you had some defensive points. I get it. And some short fields for another early touchdown. But nevertheless, you're getting some things done up front that are making you feel better about yourself. Carolina and Vandy coming up on Saturday at 4:15, all day coverage here on the game. Do want to remind you too, maybe there'll be a special teams touchdown this weekend. If Carolina can score one, that is a special teams touchdown, then you could win $900. But you have to register at 1075thegame.com. It's the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest. It's $100 a game. We haven't had a winner yet. It's game 9. That equals $900. Again, Lisa just drops
some money.
A bag of nickels into this big, huge vat at their office. That's what I want to believe. You said pennies. That's a lot of pennies.
That's so many pennies.
Yeah, but with nickels, it's a little bit easier to do the math on. I don't know how she does it. Doesn't matter. It's still $900, and you can win it, but you got to register 1075thegame.com. Thanks to Lisa and her staff for what they do. The Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest. Back to some sound from Dowell Loggins here. Cut number 3 that you have for us, Mr. Campbell. Dowell, we've already talked about it today. Have Elijah and I, and that, you won the last 2 games by 50 points combined. Yes, some of that defensive, but nevertheless, can you repeat what you did last weekend this coming weekend?
You know that by the way you asked the question. I know that, Hale. But I get what you're saying. I get what you're doing. Every week is a different challenge in this league, and Vanderbilt is an extremely difficult opponent to get ready for too. They have a defensive head coach who does a very good job. They've changed a lot, and from last year, it's not the same team we played last year. We're going into an SEC road game versus a ranked opponent. We're not ranked, so obviously people perceive them to be better than us, so it's a great challenge. So we have to take the same intensity to this week as we did last week, and now you fight the other stuff. So you play well, can you handle prosperity? We've proven that we can handle adversity offensively, but now can you get everyone wants to pat you on the back, and they weren't doing that 2 or 3 weeks ago. So you better take the same intensity you got ready for against Texas A&M to this week, because it's going to be the same type of struggle. Their names are different, they look different, but they play a different style. This team plays really, really hard, and the strain is going to be real. So it's going to be a 4-quarter dogfight, and we need to have the mindset that last week was last week, and this week we're on to this one, and it's going to be a difficult challenge.
That's the second time this week that we've heard one of the main coaches for the Gamecocks, the head coach and now the OC, throw out there. Dowell did it a little more casually. They're ranked. We're not. Some people perceive them to be better than us. Shane did it yesterday. You know,
taking it a little personal.
When the poll came out, people thought Vanderbilt was better than us. And I don't think they have a problem with Vanderbilt being ranked. They may not even have a problem with being unranked. I think they kind of like it this week.
Kirby Smart is begging to be in their position.
Yeah, I know,
he
right?
is begging. He is watching from afar and saying, "Oh man, I want to be able to tell my boys no one believes in them like you guys can." Well, I bet he has such unranked envy. It is not even funny.
Let me look real fast here. We should probably do this in the drive around, but I'm going to look real quick if I get a chance.
Shane, I'm so jealous.
I think even though even though Georgia is favored against Mississippi, I think they're 4-point favorites right now. I'm double checking. Hang on, if the computer will cooperate with me.
They think you're only 4-point favorites in this game.
Yeah,
they don't believe.
Oh
in
no,
you.
it's down to 2.5, man.
Oh, they don't believe in you.
2.5. But the computer says Ole Miss 54%. So if I'm Kirby, I just print out the pie chart.
He's just gonna make him watch the Terminator before the game. And they have to defeat the computers.
Just say here, computer. This computer don't think you can win. You got
watching film? No, they're going to watch Terminator, iRobot, any other apocalyptic movie regarding the advancement of artificial intelligence will also be inserted there.
Yeah, I'd say you could watch 2001, but that'll bog you down for a while. You don't want the boys to fall asleep.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, a little too dialogue heavy.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll talk about that later. Let's get one more real quick, then we'll have the drive around the SEC. This is Dow Loggins at cut number 5 that you have for us, sir. Just on here the improved play and the abilities that Lenora Sellers is showing and has.
Yeah, I felt that way the whole season. I know that sometimes on tape, like we want as a fan base, as a coaching staff, everyone wants a little bit more. I promise we're in good hands at quarterback, guys. Like, this guy's a real dude, a real ball player who takes football very seriously, and he's working every day to improve for his teammates and for himself. We also talked about during the bye week, he and I, when you get the bye week, I told you guys, like, you're recruiting, you're doing a lot of stuff, but you're also, it gives you a little bit of, like, you're not capped by time. So there were a lot of conversations between he and I on how we're going to have to play this game to win the game. And we're not going to play this game not being aggressive, and we're not going to win this game versus a really, really good opponent, the number one defense in the SEC, being cautious, and like we need to go attack, and that needs to be the mindset for everyone. Like, we're going to attack, we're going to get this thing, we're not going to ease into the fight and get try to make this a 15-round fight. Like, we need to go attack this thing and battle and show them that we're serious about trying to win this game. And he took that mindset to the game. The first play of the game, we call it go route, just to kind of set the tone of like, hey, we're going to attack. We're not trying to like ease into this thing. And you don't do that. And you can't do that if you don't trust your quarterback. And the week of preparation he had going into that game, no one was surprised by the way he played because he had his best week of practice.
And if I'm not mistaken, the second play of the game, he escaped on a rusher who got free right up the middle, rolls to his right, and hits Rocket Sanders on a sideline pass over to on the Texas A&M side of things.
For a big game.
And that was the first of the 12, as you talked about, right?
The 12 broken tackles that he forced. Not just, there's like missed tackles where the defender just doesn't tackle well. There's forcing those missed tackles, and he forced 12 of them. It's pretty remarkable.
It is. It was rather impressive. Again, best week of practice, best game of his career so far.
Coincidence?
Yeah, I don't think so. We'll have a little bit more from Dowell as part of the drive around the SEC, and that is next.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with a couple of reports of some traffic backups, a few of them caused by accidents, so be careful on the roads out there. But we'll start with two major traffic backups. Some stop-and-go traffic reported on 20 West between exit 73 and exit 65, as well as 26 West between exit 111 and exit 106. Some more minor traffic backups as a result of accidents. We have a lot of them, so I'll try to get all of them. Bluff Road at Highway 48 at Congaree Road, Blythewood Road at I-77, Crooked Creek Road near Harvest View Road, Emmanuel Church Road at Two Notch Road, Highway 1 at Augusta Road and Cardinal Drive, Highway 6 at Bush River Road, 20 West at Wilson Boulevard, 77 both northbound and southbound near exit 10, and a whole lot more.
It is Drive Around the SEC time on this Wednesday. Welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you. Speaking of Elijah, tomorrow, if you want to go say, hey, he will be at Dillon Columbia Supply Company. That's on Orchard Drive in West Columbia. That's right across the river that way, from noon to 2. Signing autographs.
Shaking hands and kissing babies.
Kissing babies. Jay, come on out. I mean, political season's over, but you're always running for something.
Hey, I'm always running.
So... noon to 2 tomorrow, Dillon Columbia Supply Company. That's 320 Orchard Drive. That sounds very pleasant.
It does, yeah.
Orchard Drive. When you get over there tomorrow, find out if there is actually an orchard, and then what fruit it may be growing, bearing.
Well, I mean, anyone listening to this right now is probably just as curious as you and I both are, and I would only tell you that in order to truly understand what orchards are growing over there, you should come join me.
Look at that.
And come hang out at the open house over there at Dillon Columbia Supply Company.
Noon to 2.
Highly recommend. We're going to have fun.
You going to have some lunch, or you going to eat before you go? How's that work?
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know if I have not been told if food is
they
being
never
supplied.
tell us anything about that. I was reminding Terry and Tyler, I do the final segment with them. We call it the handoff. It's a thing. Get it? And they do, while I'm in with them, they do a Firehouse Subs text of the hour. Mm-hmm. And then the segment itself is sponsored by Little Pig's Barbecue. Two fine establishments for quality food. You know how much food I've gotten in the time I've been doing that segment with them?
Not one bite of anything.
Exactly.
A whole lot of nothing.
I mean, what the hell, man?
Very unfortunate. That's sad.
That's not cool.
No, it's not. I feel for you.
Which one should I blame?
Terry.
Yeah, he's older.
He is.
He knows better.
I think he knows the guy in charge around here too.
Yeah, Tyler's young. He's still, Tyler's not gonna rock that boat.
He's a little trustworthy.
Thanks for nothing, Ford. All right, let's get. I'm not going to hear about that later, I assure you.
Nope.
Let's get into our drive around the SEC officially now. Again, DJ Lagway, we'll find out here in about 2.5 hours when the first availability report of the weekend comes out for the SEC schools. I'm going to guess that DJ Lagway, the Florida quarterback, will be listed as questionable.
I would say highly questionable.
Yes. Yesterday, Elijah said, can you put an H next to it? I don't think that's one of the degrees of questionability. But, hey, if Billy wants to add an H, I could see Billy just writing in an H next to it. But we'll see if he can play. If he does, that takes the Texas line, which is minus 21.5 in Austin, down to 19.
I'll give it 18 for good measure.
Okay.
How about that? Just to be nice to
Okay, just a touch more than a field goal. That one is the noon kick, so 11 o'clock Central Time. And this is where we start getting as well into style points and dare I say needing to cover spreads. Florida's been playing better football. They have. I want to give Florida full credit. They're 4-4. They're 2-3 in the league. Beat the hell out of Kentucky the other day. And they gave Georgia a game. If Lagway doesn't go down, I'm not saying, Florida was going to win the game. I know a lot of Gator fans be like, it's a fact. If DJ Lagway doesn't go down, Florida wins that game. They were playing well with him.
Playing well enough to win it.
And the kid that came in from Yale, I forget his name, and I apologize.
The Warner kid?
He wasn't terrible, but Georgia began to lock down on him, and, he doesn't have the escapability that DJ does.
Or the arm, or the accuracy.
He wasn't expecting to play. He wasn't expecting to play.
No.
He got his degree from Yale. He was going to come down and hang at Florida because he's a fan. Maybe he wants to go into coaching. Maybe
came here to rage.
And I was seriously telling some people we were watching the game with, in that situation, Florida's a great school. So he gets his degree from Yale like an undergrad, and he can go to Florida for some kind of cool master's degree, and on their dime.
Yeah.
And he grew up in Orlando. He's a Gator fan, but he wasn't expecting to wait, you want me to play against Georgia? No.
My man's on the sideline eating chips, and they're like, hey, Warner, in the game right now. He goes, whoa, me? Looking around, is anybody else last name?
But you got to figure that Texas, on a over-under of only 47.5, you need to figure that Texas will cover that spread. Tennessee, 24-point favorites at home over Mississippi State. A much larger over-under of 61.5. But again, Tennessee, all these teams, Elijah, you need to go cover the spread.
Yeah. I think was the way now. I don't think I would trust Tennessee to cover a large spread with just how non-explosive the offense has become.
LSU is a 3-point home dog to Alabama. Let me see what the latest computer says on that one. I don't think Bama's favored. Oh, wow. Whoa, is this? The computer gives Alabama a 70% chance to win this football game.
What do they know?
69.6 to 30.4.
Good Lord.
LSU, they're pretty healthy, right? Everybody's got a little bit of bang up, but the big names are there.
I think I'd favor Alabama in this game.
They're favored, but only by 3. It opened at 2.5. It's up to 3.
Mostly because, and here's one thing with LSU, was it Marcel Reed that you just weren't prepared for? You didn't expect him to come in the game at all, is why he ran all over you? Or can you not contain a scrambling quarterback? There is a sample size that suggests that they can't.
I think it's B. Yeah, I think it's B. And Milroe is better than Reed.
They handled Taylor Green all right at Arkansas.
That's true.
They didn't handle Lenoris very well in the half that Lenoris got to play healthily.
That's true.
So, you go up and down that schedule. And you the loss. Miller Moss at Southern Cal threw all over him, but he wasn't, scrambling all over the place.
Right.
So I'm awfully perplexed as to how they just weren't able to corral Marcel Reed. You have just a completely different set of results against running quarterbacks or quarterbacks who are great outside the pocket. It's bizarre.
Oklahoma, let me make sure that I'm right about this here. Oklahoma opened as 1.5 point underdogs. Yes, Oklahoma opened as 1.5 point underdogs at Missouri. That's a Saturday night game. It is now Oklahoma minus 2.5. I've been telling you for 2 weeks.
You think Oklahoma beats Missouri?
I think Oklahoma's going to win this football game. I'm not saying I hope they do. I don't care. I think Oklahoma's going to win this football game.
They need to for bowl eligibility.
That'd be it too, because I don't think they're going to win the other ones they have. We talked about this when they have Bama still and LSU, right?
Yep. Yeah. That's how they finished the year.
Yeah, they're off next week, and then they host Bama and they go to LSU. But I do, and clearly people that put money on this believe the same thing, because again, Oklahoma opened as a dog, and that's a 4-point swing. That's not the biggest swing I've ever seen, but considering where these programs are, but now all of a sudden these programs are a little tighter. I know Missouri is in the top 25. We talked about that a little bit earlier, but I think Oklahoma's going to win that game. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. That's why they play 7:45 on Saturday, and finally, of course, the big game of the weekend in the SEC. Well, there's 2 big games this weekend, but Georgia going to Ole Miss. The reason I say that one's Georgia. This is going to be the one that I think a lot of people, think, okay, Ole Miss, if you're really ready to get it done, then you'll have to win this game. Georgia did not pass the Alabama test in Tuscaloosa. They did pass the Texas test in Austin. And now here's a third road test that they have to go out and do. And with the way Ole Miss played last week, you like the opportunity for them to score some points. Can Georgia defensively do what they did against Texas all night for the most part, and in the second half against Alabama -1 play? If Kirby gets them to play that kind of defense, Georgia's going to win this game. Georgia is favored to win this game, just 2.5 right now. But is this bigger than Bama LSU?
Yes. Well, now that I think about it,
it's hard,
I don't feel as definitive as I made it sound.
It's hard.
I will say technically Alabama LSU is going to be bigger because that's an elimination game. Straight up elimination game. Because like we mentioned, even if LSU gets into the SEC championship game, well, it depends if they win or lose too. Because they let in a 10-3 SEC champion. I have a hard time believing they wouldn't let in the SEC champion despite 3 losses. But we'd have to have an honest conversation about that. That's tough.
It's tough. If Ole Miss doesn't get this win, They're done.
Yeah, but if Ole Miss beats Georgia, now things get weird.
If
you want chaos, you want Ole Miss to beat Georgia because things will get really weird.
We have the chaos. That's the drive around the SEC, brought to you by Herndon Chevy. Stop by the showroom, see why Herndon makes you smile. This is the Postgame Show. Welcome back in. Final few minutes of the postgame show here on this Wednesday afternoon/evening. Tomorrow on the program, more sound from Clayton White, Gamecock defensive coordinator, getting you ready for the weekend in Nashville. And our good friend David Cloninger will join us tomorrow. I believe he's going to be with us in the 4 o'clock hour.
Very nice.
Talking a little football and a little hoops. More detail on what's going on with Ashlyn Watkins, who, again, if you have not yet heard, has been fully reinstated to the Carolina women's basketball team after the charges against her were dismissed. And we want to thank a caller. I could have sworn, and I apologize, I could have sworn when I was watching the Florida-Georgia game the other day that, and I forget who the crew was, said, was that Herbie and Fowler?
I believe that, yeah. That was
I could have sworn I heard him say grad transfer from Yale. He is a Yale transfer, but just after 1 year.
Just no grad, unless he decided to take 4 years' worth of school in one.
Came onto the Florida team as a walk-on, but he did play for Yale last year. Out of high school, UConn, Coastal, FAU had offered him. He was a 3-star quarterback from the Orlando area. So, anyway, now he's at Florida and might have to play this weekend in Austin. But they're doing all they can. They probably got DJ Lagway in some kind of experimental chamber down there to get him all ready. Nothing illegal, as far as we know.
As far as I was going to say, there's a caveat there. As far as we know, it's not what you know; it's what you can prove.
Yeah, he didn't even play in their spring game. Did this kid, Aiden Warner? And again, Florida's a great school academically, but I'm not sure unless you just didn't like the cold of New Haven.
It ain't Yale.
No, it ain't Yale. But New Haven ain't Gainesville, Orlando, or Ocala, and then down to Orlando. So
Also
it's cold up there, man.
Counterpoint.
It's cold up there.
He had one New Haven, Connecticut winter and said, nope.
Yeah, it's cold.
I ain't coming back.
If COVID hadn't hit, one of our daughters was going to go to school in Massachusetts, and we kept telling her, it's really cold. And she was like, really cold to a South Carolinian is, when it's like 30. And it's like, no, listen. Some days that's not even the high.
Oh, yeah.
Like some mornings might start and it'd be like 5. You mean like the morning starts at 5 a.m.? Like, no.
Degrees.
So, well, thank you to that caller for pointing that out to us. We appreciate you. Do I have time? Can we get, is this one more cut here I want to get? Because this one's kind of fun. This is Dowell Loggins on, speaking of things they have at their disposal, as Rocket Sanders was getting himself fully prepared again. Here's Dowell talking about the exercise equipment that Rocket was using.
Everyone in this whole thing is, and it goes back to the only way to make the team better is improve your individual value. And especially when you have an older player, it's different than talking to Lenoris and Josiah, and Mazio. You have to guide those guys. Rocket knows what it takes to win in this conference. He knows what it takes to be successful. He knows his body. He's been through the wars of the SEC. So for him, it's taking advantage of the bye week. It's not going back home to Florida and laying up on the couch and eating Cheetos and watching TV and all that stuff. Like, he knew what he had to do to play well, and he knew that we needed him to play well to win that game, and that he was going to have to be a difference maker, and he was going to have to break tackles, and his vision was, he was going to have to be on point with his vision. He was going to have to be good in pass pro and all those in the passing game. I think he was our second leading receiver in the game behind Josh Simon. So for him, it's just the veteran presence that you get when you bring in a guy that's done it at a high level. That it's like Xavier Legette. I tell these guys all the time, like, guys, you had the perfect example of how to do things. Like Matthew Fuller, Jordan Howe, watch this guy who knows how to do it, who's done it at a high level. Watch what his bye week looks like. It's not go back home and go to my high school game and hang out with my boys and have a great time. That's what the off season's for. That's what the summer's for. It's about getting ready to play the next game.
All right. Well, there was a one in there that was about a Stairmaster somewhere along the way.
Well, he was asked about the Stairmaster.
Okay, asked about the Stairmaster.
Asked about the Stairmaster.
Well, my question,
I think he just kind of neglected to give the fun part of the answer.
I would have followed up. What's wrong with Cheetos, man?
Yeah, what's your beef?
I mean, somebody should have asked Dowell.
I do have a beef with Cheetos.
Yeah?
It's just they're too messy. I don't like having to wipe my hands after each one. I don't know. That's also a me
Well,
thing.
don't wipe your hands after each one. Just eat the whole bag and then wipe your hands.
Then they get, I don't know. It's just I hate having that much dust. Any chip with that much dust on it. It's not like that I don't like them. I will eat them all the time. I have no problems with eating them.
Cheetos are delicious.
They're very delicious. Yeah. I just hate chips.
My favorite
dust. Too much dust.
My favorite cheese snack is the Planters cheese balls. You ever had those?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
Yeah,
Well, that's for like the dusty, puffy snack. My favorite cheese snack is going to be the extra toasty Cheez-It.
Yes.
Which is the bomb.
Cheez-Its are flawless.
Yeah.
Flawless.
The extra toasty Cheez-It, if that's all I had left in life, it'd probably be all right. That and a nice cold IPA. We'll do it again tomorrow. For Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay. Y'all be safe out there. See ya. Officially, one more thing to remind you about, and that's taking care of yourself, guys, especially as you get a little bit older, when you're not feeling like yourself, when things are a little bit off and you're wondering why. It's not going to be a thing that just goes away. Instead, it's an opportunity for you to take the next step and take care of yourself by seeing Dr. Dan Balknight and his team at the Men's Clinic. Dan and the crew will sit down with you, learn about who you are, what you do, where those gaps in your life might be, what it is that you want to be doing better, and then put together and prescribe a plan that is just right for you. There is no magic pill. There is no one-size-fits-all treatment. There's no former athletes telling you, hey, she'll like it too. All right, that's not how it works in real life, okay? 803-875-MENS, and learn more about how many people the Men's Clinic have helped and what they do when you log on to themensclinicsc.com.